Alright, this is an installation video for the HFS IGX 700 and 800 remote start box. This remote start box operates completely independently of the engine controls, so there is a little bit of extra installation that goes into these. The first thing that needs to be done is take at least the negative battery cable off. We'll really have to take both off. The negative though does need to come off the battery. Then we have 4 wires that we're going to be attaching to this motor. The yellow is going to be attached in behind the computer. This is going to be to the main computer harness that actually activates the electric fuel pump and the computer. The black goes to ground on the engine. Red goes to a power wire. Typically we install it on the back of the starter solenoid. And the white wire goes to the solenoid trigger wire, which is also on the actual starter solenoid. I'm going to go through these kind of in order of what is the most difficult to get to. To start that out is the yellow wire going behind the computer. You need a 5/16 or an 8mm, either one will remove that bolt. Behind here, you're going to find the main harness. Pull the main harness back. You have a black wire with a yellow tracer. That's the wire we're looking for. Going to unplug that right here. Going to plug the yellow wire back in there. Going to plug the male end of the yellow wire into the female end of where you unplug that. Be careful when you lay this stuff back in here. It is a tight fit, and ultimately your wire is going to come out behind the computer then. This is much more difficult on a belt drive machine than it is a gear drive, but while we're showing it on a gear drive, that way you can see what's got to go on in a belt drive scenario a little bit better than if we were showing it on one. Then the next thing that we're going to do is take the starter wire loose from the battery. It's going to be a 12mm. If you have the original nut, if anybody has ever changed that nut for any reason, it will be a 13 most likely. Honda has a special nut they use here. So when we take that wire loose, I'm going to pull this back out of the way. While I have this out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and pull the starter solenoid wire out. This one is a little more difficult to deal with typically. So what I recommend doing is once you have pulled the wire off, is go ahead and take the white wire. So this is a white wire with a black tracer going to a white wire. Go ahead and slide this connection together and have those together when they slide back in here. Now, if you get them like that, everything's in there good, should hold in there just fine. Then I'm also going to lay my red wire in here. You want to be real conscious as much as you can of where these wires are going to be, because it does get, a fair amount of heat back in this part of the engine as well. And then we are going to slide this original. Well, this is what we don't want to do, is let something fall off as we're sliding together, because there is a white wire that slid in there. It comes in from the charging system, so if that's not connected, that does make life much more difficult as well. So now that we've got all those together, I'm going to tighten that down, cover back on, and then last but not least, we have this ground wire. Now, do not want to ground to these computer bolts. There can be interference there. Some machines are going to have a ground right here on the block. All of them have a hole that's drilled and tapped. So you can always use this hole. You can always take your cable loose and use the hole where it's bolted to the plate. There are also a couple of other places up in here that bolt the key box on and some of the computer brackets. All of those are fair game, but in the case of this one, we're going to share the ground with the harness ground right here on the block. 10 millimeter bolt head typically on that. It's an M6 bolt if yours does not currently have a bolt there. It's the same bolt that Honda uses in so many different places. It is a very short bolt as well. So screw back in, and once that is in, then your actual installation of the remote start is complete. Alright, so at this point we can put our negative battery terminal back on. And we're ready to go. You turn the remote itself on, press the AB button, red light comes on, the remote is activated. Push the on off, you'll have one red light come on inside the remote box. Then to actually turn the motor on and off, you push the A button. There's going to be a light that comes on and stays on. That's letting you know. You'll also hear the ECM kick up. The hour meter will also turn on, and our key is off and actually out of the machine now. So everything is ready to go at this point. We're not going to actually crank it for the purpose of the video, but well, it does want to run. So cranked it, use the A button, turn it off. Everything will power down and it'll shut off just like normal. So everything can also be done still with your key. This does not impact any of the original functions of any of the key box. So every function up here is still just like it was before. You do want to turn the box off at the end. Two notable things down the road: if you ever have the box working but the key not working or anything like that, you need to start with checking the fuses. There's a 10 amp fuse inside the box. Right here's a 10 amp mini blade fuse, and those can be found just like any auto parts store, stuff like that. And then also there are two setups for these fuses, but there's a 15 amp fuse in the Honda harness as well. This fuse will also disable the key switch from working, which this will bypass. So if anything is going wrong, you do need to check both places to confirm that you have everything going the way it should be. Once again, shut down the box when you're done. These will put a drain on the battery while they're running. It's very, very low drain. However, it is, if the machine sits off for a couple days, it would kill the battery. But that's a complete installation on an IGX 800 for the high flow systems remote start.